All right, we are live. I'm your host, Daniel Crosier. This is Cafe Crash, and I am joined by the awesome and astounding Luke Schmaltz. Luke, how the fuck are you, sir?
Man, with an introduction like that, the pressure's on. I'm trying to like mellow out and relieve myself from any expectations. Now I'm gonna have to like try to. I don't want to phone in the awesome, so I'll do my best to manufacture awesome.
Well, Luke, you just got done telling me that you were white knuckling it all the way to Montana, making that transition from Denver to Montana. How was that? That sounded just nuts.
Well, the part that sucked really bad was I was in my house in Denver for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when we decided to make the move, it's indefinite. Nothing's permanent, but it's for a good reason. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay.
The hardest part was extracting all of the 12 years of accumulation in the old house, because it was a house built over 100 years ago. There's 2 levels plus a basement and a backyard, a garage, a shed. And I deceived myself saying that I was not a rat packer and a borderline hoarder, because it turns out I am. So getting rid of all that stuff took me all of the month of September, with the exception of a few days of working and hanging out with friends and stuff, of sipping through stuff. You know what those bagsters are? Those portable kind of it's kind of like a cloth dumpster, like
right. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
plastic. You buy it at Home Depot. You unfold it. You fill it full of shit, and then they come with a crane and haul it off. I did 2 of those, two of those full of stuff, and it should have been 3.
Ooh.
And a lot of that stuff was Frank's shit. Frank from Modern Drunkard magazine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was my roommate years ago, and when he moved out, he left a whole bunch of stuff. He was gonna come.
Our roommate's great. They always leave. They never chip in, but they're great for leaving their shit behind.
Yeah. And so that was that was the main part of the suck sandwich.
Yeah.
And then I got mismatched with a trailer that was way too big for my car.
Oh, geez.
I got a Subaru Outback, and I attached it to a 6x12 U-Haul trailer. Ooh. So it's just a small car pulling this large box, and where the 2 hitches connected was supposed to be like that, but it was like that, with about that much clearance above the pavement. So I was going, if I got over 65, I started getting nervous.
Yeah.
So I keep it at 60 from here from Denver to Red Lodge, Montana, which is normally a 9 or 10 hour ride. And it was a good 14.
Yeah.
So we stopped in Casper and just slept for a night, and then we did it in 2 stretches. But my father passed away at the end of last year.
And, I'm sorry.
My mom's hanging out up here in Red Lodge.
Yeah.
And she's alone and hasn't ever lived alone, because she went from a huge family to college to living with people in the college sorority to being with my dad. Yeah. So this is the first time she really ever lived alone. And she's a tough gal. She can handle herself and all that. But she more or less asked me to come live near her and hang out. And one of my dad's phrases that I'll remember for time immemorial, and I quote, "Whenever your mother asks you to do something, don't question it. Just do it. Don't ask her. I don't want to hear any crying or whining or bitching or moaning. Just do it. Okay?" So I hear that echoing in my head. I'm like, "Okay, Dad, I'll do it."
Oh,
So it's a family thing, you know.
yeah.
And I want to spend some quality time while there is time, because we don't
Right.
know how much time
Right.
there is.
Right. Most definitely. You are a sweet, sweet son and such a loving, caring person. Yeah, very good
Don't
of you.
believe the hype, man. I'm a sentimental sucker underneath all that hype of being an asshole.
Right, right. I that's great. Tough exterior, warm, mushy, gummy bear interior.
You're a patient man too, because I remember
How's
going to
that?
Comic-Con with you and Reverend Jim,
Oh, I love Jim.
but I don't think you knew that I was coming along for the ride. Do you remember
I
that a few years ago?
I remember you were wearing you came along and you had your Spider-Man outfit.
Yeah.
It was great because it was like yeah, judging by the beer belly, it was good middle-aged Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Probably from like into the multiverse, or the
Yeah,
Spider-Verse.
that's I was that Peter Parker.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you're like at least you had a nice table that you could put your beer on,
Yeah.
while you're shooting webs.
Yeah,
No, that was a lot of fun. I loved it.
I had to retire that thing after enough Spider-Man stunts. Uh, there's like holes in the knees and the elbows.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mask smells like a wino's discarded sock that you'd find on the side of the freeway.
Oh,
So,
nice. So a delicacy.
yeah, well, I got a lot of mileage out of that thing. I got it for my 30th birthday.
Nice.
They had they rent or they got the Bluebird to give them the venue, because it was almost 20 years ago when you could do that.
Yeah.
My friend and former bandmate Zeth Padula and Karen Exley, Karen Kuda, they kind of got together and put together a party for me on my 30th birthday. So one of the treats was they hired a stripper who showed up in a Spider-Man outfit.
Nice.
But she took it all off, and I got to keep the outfit as part of
it. Hopefully, she brought an extra pair to leave in. Some clothes, maybe a Superman outfit.
Well, it was in the middle of July, so if she had to leave in her underwear, I don't think she froze to death, so it was fine.
True. That's fantastic. Hey, Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself. You have such a storied background because you're the front man of King Rat. One of the legendary punk bands of Denver and Colorado, and you just put out you're about to put out the print version, right, of your first novel, Belcher.
Yeah. Well, I moved to Colorado in '92, and I published my first book of poetry that year.
Fantastic!
That's when it started. I started writing poetry around the age of 9, I believe.
Okay. Wow.
And,
that's awesome.
By the time I was 22, I was ready to publish something, and I worked the night shift at Kinko's Copies.
Okay.
So I published that one for free.
Nice. Nice. That's the best way to do it.
Before they had print tracking and inventory of paper and cardstock and all that stuff, because I was there alone. I had access to these really nice copiers, even for the time, even for now, they were nice. You could program them to make you a book, not with this kind of binding, but exterior binding, but binding nonetheless, not just spiral binding or velo binding, but solid exterior binding.
Nice.
So I printed a bunch of those and sold them through my cousin's bookstore in Albuquerque, and basically gave them away to a lot of families and friends. But when I moved to Denver, I had this lifelong calling to be in a punk rock band. I was in college, and there wasn't punk rock on the curriculum, of course.
Right.
And after about 2 years, I was like, man, fuck this. I can't take it, man. I hated high school, and I hate this even more. So
with my
better judgment, even though I don't know, things work out the way they work out. So I left that and I started trying out for bands in Denver.
Cool.
They were all metal bands and butt rock bands in 1992, and starting to imitate grunge type bands.
Sure.
So I learned how to play and sing so that I could fulfill my punk rock destiny.
Nice.
So I formed King Rat in 1994, and we did 10 studio albums and 1 live album.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Probably, I don't know, 15 tours, somewhere 12 or 13 tours. We didn't tour very much towards the end there because everybody became obligated with marriages and mortgages and jobs that don't let you leave and stuff like that. So
alimony and debt. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, hostages to feed every 3 or 4 days. You can't. That
gets to be a little painstaking. It's a lot of overhead to incur.
Yeah, you can't ask your neighbor to feed the hostages in the basement while you're on tour, gallivanting across the nation. Wowing people with your 3-chord masterpieces.
Well, then with the neighbors too. Then you've got new witnesses. It's like, all right, I guess you either get indoctrinated as the roadies, or you become tree fertilizer.
Yeah, well, so the punk rock thing, I always wanted to write a novel. I always wanted to write several novels, and punk rock was like a 26-year distraction from that.
Okay.
Well, no, about a 23-year distraction because I started working on this thing.
Yes, the Belcher. Nice.
About 3 years ago. It was done. It was done January 1st, thereabouts of this year. And then there's just a bunch of proofreading and editing. And then I had to give it to somebody else to comb through it because I was looking at mistakes and I knew they were there, but I read them so many times I wasn't catching them. So I had some good friends, Matthew Yoss, Frank Rich from Modern Drunkard.
Nice.
And my friend Gene Pinson. They all combed through it and pointed out a few things. And then the printing thing, I needed to work out a publishing deal with Mutiny Information Cafe.
Oh, sweet.
They're my partners.
That's awesome.
So on the first run, I did 500. So they have 250 of them, and I have 250 of them. But this thing came about because I was trying to write. I was working on another book, and it wasn't. The mojo wasn't there.
Okay.
I couldn't lock into the mojo zone for that book. So I was sitting around with my wife one night drinking beer, and although I'm not drinking beer now, I do have an uncanny ability to belch with exuberance.
Oh yeah.
So I let a belch fly pretty hard that kind of shook the rafters. and my wife, she laughs. She goes, "You know what you should do? You should write a story about a superhero that uses supersonic belches to fight injustice." And she went back to what she was doing, and I was like, "Well, what? Say it again. What did you just say? Say that again." I grabbed the pen. I'm like, "Yeah, yes. I am gonna write that. Nice. I'm gonna write that." And so I started working on that, and my lifelong fascination and obsession with comic books really came about in this thing because these are characters that the first iteration of this story is in literary print form, but I see it as a graphic novel sometime, and it would make a hell of a movie.
Nice.
Because the characters, because there's the Belcher,
mm-hmm.
and then that just sets the tone for there's got to be a gasser. So one of his enemies is the gasser, this guy named Luther Fisk, named after
Yep.
named after the smelliest food, lutefisk.
I was gonna say that that was like an homage to Wilson Fisk or something.
No, well, it's a little bit of Wilson Fisk too. But
Okay.
Luther Fisk, it's kind of a double homage or a
Yeah.
double.
Lutefisk.
It's kind of a layered meaning of a name because there's Wilson Fisk and then there's lutefisk, which is very fragrant pickled fish, I believe.
Right. I think it's completely raw and it's like buried out, in some wet area and just kind of ferments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
something like that. But so this guy, he emits what I call toxic anal vapors.
Ooh.
He's a prolific farter, and he has the internal ability to create prolific amounts of methane gas. Oof. So he harnesses that ability by deliberately eating foods that create more methane.
Yeah.
Rotting vegetable matter specifically.
Yeah.
And he makes, I go into graphic detail about these putrid, rotten smoothies he makes and lets them ferment overnight and then chokes down and then he goes and robs banks because his farts are so bad that people pass out. They catch a whiff and he has his own mask with fibers that protect him from his own stench. But he just goes in with nothing, empty hands, full gut. And then when he farts, they're so bad that everybody just passes out. So all these faces hitting the marble floor of a bank sounds like applause. Yeah. In his head, it sounds like applause. So he's humoring himself like he's this master
of ceremony.
Yeah, master orchestrator of these overtures of humans passing out that sounds like applause.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And so then he just helps himself to the money because everyone's unconscious for, a few minutes. And, so
what a great ability, an absurd ability, but with very, what a precise measure. Something that's also non-lethal. That's kind of strange to hear from a villain side.
Well, that's only one layer of his evil. I mean, that's not the evil part. The evil part is that he hates women and children. Ooh. So he wants to kill them both when they're in the same body.
Okay.
So I don't want to ruin it too hard for anybody who wants to get the book and enjoy the revelations. But he's pretty evil. Him and his counterpart, Blatherskite, who's one of the other villains.
Oh, geez. So there's a whole rogues gallery that you've created.
Yes, because there's Blatherskite is the head of EAR, which is the Environmental Agency of Restrictions.
Okay.
Their EAR meaning they're listening. So he's out. He's a former music promoter. And we're gonna learn all about my ire for music promoters. And I earned that by being in rock and roll for 26 years. Yeah, and I haven't hung it up, not by a long stretch. King Rat is on indefinite hold, but I do solo stuff too. But I earned the right to denigrate music promoters because by and large, most of them are the scum of the earth.
Right?
And I know they are, and if they take offense at that, that's because they have a severe case of denial.
Yeah.
This guy's a former promoter, but he's weaseled his way into civic duty. And then he's created this fledgling branch of government called the Environmental Agency of Restrictions. Mm-hmm. And their job is to shut down noise pollution and environmental pollution of all kinds, whether it's like visual art, mural art, performance art, music, anything like that. Their job is to terrorize those artists so that they're afraid to perform, and then do raids of bars and burlesque performances and music performances where they just go in and start fucking people up so that people are just terrified to put on anything, because ear is going to come put the hurt on you. So his superpower, and I call these things Bane. Biological, anomalic, neurological emanations. It's an acronym.
Wow.
But everybody in the book, all the principal characters have some kind of Bane. Like the Belcher's Bane is his ability to create prolific pockets of blasts of guttural rage, and he learns to direct it.
Yeah.
His belches at specific objects and people so that he can fight injustice, and he eventually has to go against the gasser and against ear. Those are his nemesis.
Nice.
So Blatherskite's Bane is that he has the ability, by talking in circles and making more and more noise and less sense.
Okay.
Almost complete blather at rapid pace. When he does that, the rate of syllable exchange and the tone that he is able to create makes people incapable of critical thinking. And also he can basically cripple your mental faculties if you listen to him talk long enough. And so what he does is he breaks people down mentally, gets them to reveal anything terrible they've done, and then uses it as blackmail, because he almost puts them in a trance almost, where they can't function mentally and think for themselves. So that's his Bane. And so he has an entire series of squadrons of ear agents who are basically like, if you're too much of a pussy and an idiot to get on the police force, you get recruited by ear.
Okay. And
I'm not spitting on law enforcement, but I'm just saying, if it only takes 15 weeks to give you a badge and a gun, that's not our finest caliber of human that we can muster to serve and protect.
Right.
These are the guys with too many Cheeto crumbs in their beard, and too much of a gamer habit to actually get into a police car and wield a gun. So they join ear, and then they fall under Blatherskite's spell, because he manufactured this thing called this drug called More, and it's methamphetamine, oxycodone, rohypnol, and ecstasy. It's a blend. It's a blend of all four of those, and so he's strung out on it hard. But all of his minions are strung out on it too.
Oh, jeez.
So he's weakened their brains with his own yammering.
Well, okay, gotcha.
He's kept them stupefied and hypnotized and under his direction with copious amounts of more.
Yeah.
So they're all speed freaks. They're idiot ex-gamer speed freaks.
Nice. It sounds kind of like Mad Hatter from Batman and stuff.
Mm-hmm. There's some of that, and then on the good guy side, because it's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's work.
Yeah.
This follows the hero's journey, which a lot of heroic narratives adhere to that form, because it works very well as a storyteller, and for a storytelling format. The reason why people use it over and over again is because it works really well to convey the story, the character arc, and the journey from boy to man.
Yeah.
So he meets Pablo Vasquez, who is basically his Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And he teaches Pablo Vasquez, otherwise known as the Soothsayer. He teaches him to focus his belcher, so it's not just a wide shotgun blast, but a concentrated punch at specific objects or a wide blast, and he helps him realize that the power of those belches. He needs beer. He can't do it with Coca-Cola. And I explained this with this.
It's something about the hops.
Well, it's about the alcohol content. And I go into explicit biological detail with the biological cellular transfer and why it works. Obviously, this is fiction, but I'm helping the reader get to the edge of that cliff. So where all you have to do to step out to be Wile E. Coyote is just take one more step.
Nice.
So helping the reader get to that edge, to that willing suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And so he teaches the Belcher to focus his power so that he can be effective and not just this, like this fire hose on full blast, just whipping around all the place.
Right.
So his thing is when he smokes weed, he exhales the smoke in iambic pentameter, and the cadence and timbre of his words, along with the weed, the weed cloud, makes people freeze temporarily, kind of like Professor X in some instances. And this guy and Blather Sky go way back, and this character is based on Denver Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, Denver Joe and I were very close friends.
Nice.
He passed away in May of 2017.
Oh shoot!
Did you know who Denver Joe was, right?
I know of Denver Joe. I don't think I've ever.
You better lie and make sure that I think that you did know who he was, because if you don't, shame on you. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, there's so many people I just don't know or don't get out to meet.
Well, this guy is Pablo Vasquez is a composite character of my dad.
Yeah.
And Joe. Joe was Joe Vasquez, and my dad was Paul, but all of his Hispanic friends called him Pablo.
Okay.
Because we're from New Mexico originally.
Yeah.
So combined, it's Pablo Vasquez. So I recycle a bunch of my dad's redneck one-liners.
Yeah.
Not like racist, hateful redneck one-liners, but colorful, pithy one-liners that, when used in the right context, they're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, isms.
I don't want to ruin it for the reader, but there's a lot of colorful language and a lot of vivid topography of language.
Yeah,
and
so it sounds like a lot of the characters and scenarios are drawn upon, from your real life experiences.
All of them.
Nice.
They're composites of, they're either one person or composites of 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
And
so this becomes a very personal work for you then.
Absolutely. And there's sequel potential, obviously.
Yeah.
But, the way that it's written, it supplies enough to the reader, even with average imagination. It supplies plenty so that you get the story and you have a great time. Because most people who've read it, everyone who's read it, they agree that it's hilarious. It's a page turner. You can't put it down. And, there's vivid scenes, gore, and violence, and sex, and crime, and murders, and guerrilla warfare in the streets. Lots of significant parts of downtown Denver get decimated in the war.
Okay. Wow.
I call it the war on drugs, because the Belcher's drinking, and his counterpart Cricket, she drinks tequila, and then there's Vasquez, who's smoking weed.
Yeah.
And then there's Blatherskite and Moore.
Right.
Or Blatherskite and Ear. They're all on Moore. The meth, oxycodone, Rohypnol, ecstasy mixture.
Yeah.
And then the gasser gets hooked on it too.
Oh, good.
So So it's like all these people that are all fucked up going against each other. So I think it's chapter 42 is called The War on Drugs.
Nice.
That one's a pretty detailed series of battle scenes.
Nice. Well, you don't have to give any more away. I think people are already hooked, and everybody watching this, on October 6th, go to Luke's website. I'll throw up the ticker here. Go to his website, pick up the Belcher, god damn it. Because
if you're in Denver, you can get it at Mutiny right now. They have them in stock.
Whoa. Oh, fantastic. That's beautiful.
If you're not in Denver and you don't want to go downtown or whatever, go to the website and mail one or order one, and I'll mail it to you. Also, the first 100 copies, I'm sending a King Rat 7-inch of our 7-inch we put out in 2010 called Sacred Things. Nice. We have a bunch of those left, and the first 20, I'm also going to put in a Denver Joe sticker.
Oh, that's awesome.
But if you're downtown in Denver, go to Mutiny because they've got them now. Because those guys are my partners. So they'll they get a little piece of that, and I get a piece of that, and that's the 2 pieces of the American pie, American dream.
Right. Yeah. If anybody's in Denver, for me, probably like you, Luke, that's my home away from home.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough right now because, when I go down there for coffee, I just kind of hang out outside and look like some deviant, ready to pickpocket, with my mask on, my predator mask.
There's always somebody interesting on the north side of that building in those chairs. Almost always.
You
may not run into anywhere else. I call
and half of the time it's Jim.
Yeah. I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I really want to tell everyone about that.
I love Jim. I love Matt. They're amazing people. And you've known Jim at least for a pretty long time too, right?
I've known Jim since he videotaped one of the first King Rat performances in '94.
Wow.
And I didn't know him then. I think we met in '97 or '98, maybe.
Okay.
When he was working at the Ogden and Bluebird. I think it was around like 98, I'm thinking. So we've been friends for quite a while. I talked him into being the King Rat manager. I think he lasted about 2 weeks. He's like, "You guys are too crazy for me, man. You guys are just way too crazy, man."
That is actually a really good. Yeah, there you go.
If I have a backpack and I walk down Broadway with that Jim Norris kind of
swagger,
shuffle swagger, people will stop and say, "Hey, Jim, sorry, I thought you were somebody else." I'm like, "Okay, thanks, bud." we went out to lunch for his birthday a couple years ago, and his ex-wife's dad thought I was him and just jumped right into conversation with me. Started talking about like all this stuff, and I'm like, I think you think I'm Jim. Jim's right over there.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, hey, I'll take it as a compliment, man. That's cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I because with Jim and Matt, I know back in their earlier days, they were putting together zines and stuff, and you working with working at Kinko's, right? I was like, oh, that would have been a beautiful marriage, even as far back as then.
I was working in Kinko's in California.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Moved from New Mexico to California briefly.
Okay.
I wanted to get residency to go to college. And after I got residency and started school, I realized that Southern California, I just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's all about like what you're wearing, what you're driving, where you live.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure there are good people out there, but I didn't find any of them.
Right. Well,
So,
like in the documentary The Lost Boys, it's there's a lot of vampires out there.
yeah. Yeah, I think, especially where I was in La Jolla,
Mm-hmm.
which is, going from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is basically one big ghetto, to La
Right.
Jolla, California, which is like, walking around in Hellsberg diamonds or something like that. It was
Yeah.
culture shock. I'm like,
Yeah.
where's all the freaks? Where's all the
Yeah.
crazy people that you think might either like high five you or stab you? None of that.
Right.
It's like, people are transfixed on materialism, like to
Yeah.
such a degree that I'd never seen before.
Yeah. That would be pretty drastic experience. Yeah. Is that what propelled you to come to Denver then? Or
Well, no, my family was there. When I moved to California, they moved from Albuquerque to Denver to start a series of businesses.
okay.
And my dad said, I could really use somebody I can trust to help me run this damn thing. And I said, I'll be right there. Fuck California. I miss my family, so I'll be there in 2 days.
Yeah.
I was, and so I arrived in Denver when it was the old Denver, before it became the hip kind of art music mecca Denver that's slowly eroding.
Right.
Before it was that, it was kind of all these old school old man bars and mom and pop places and glorious thrift stores of unpicked through, full of treasures.
Yeah.
Jackets and like
Nice.
Smokey and the Bandit jackets and plaid suits that would make Doug Stanhope drool.
Nice.
So yeah, there was it was a great place, and it still has its charm. But as a Denver resident, you're in Denver, or are you in the suburbs? Or
I am. Elise and I are in Aurora, just on the edge of Parker.
okay,
Yeah.
so you know how it's kind of been getting shipped away at the mojo of the city.
Right.
Oh.
Right. There's a lot of massive gentrification, and a lot of the soul is being eroded.
Well, everything's got a price, man.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
Mutiny's keeping it real. I call Mutiny the epicenter of cultural mojo.
I agree. Yeah.
So
most definitely.
They've kind of got a stronghold on the at least the soul part, at least on that stretch of Broadway for now.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens though,
Right. Right. Looks like we got a couple of comments that just came in. Jenny Sanchez posted, I think they make lutefisk with lye.
That is correct. They do.
And she followed that up with, that's gross, Luke. Thanks, Jenny. And there was a period too. This is when I met you, when you, I think, owned and managed Bender's, right?
Yeah, Bender's was it was an interesting chapter for me because here's my advice. If you like roller coasters, don't buy an amusement park because you'll spend all your time fixing the roller coaster and not riding it.
Yeah.
That's kind of my analogy because I like music venues for what they are because you play, hang out with your friends, have a good time at the bar, knock them back, high five, fall down, stand up, laugh your ass off, all that stuff. But when you're taking care of the loony bin, you don't get to have any fun being loony.
Yeah.
It takes all the fun out. Owning a loony bin takes all the fun out of being crazy.
Right. Right. So, now you got to manage the inmates.
Yeah. So it was a good experience it was very explicit in demonstrating to me the value and the importance of keeping your overhead low. low
Right.
overhead. Because when you have a
Right.
huge building that you need to fill up with people,
Yeah.
4 or 5 nights a week in the middle of a recession,
Oof.
because Capitol Hill, and by 2010, Capitol Hill was at 30% vacancy,
Mhm.
and everyone was broke. You know,
Yeah.
for a $2 PBR, people would bitch. A $2? How come not a dollar? How about you sell it to me for $1 and then I'll give you the other dollar for a tip?
Oh, what
Like,
the
dude,
hell?
this isn't the flea market, man.
Right. Right.
Prices are set.
Yeah.
So it was cool because I did see a lot of good music and I saw a lot of really bad music. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of solidified my distaste for musicians. By and
Right.
large, musicians are self-absorbed, vain crybabies who think that somebody owes them something just because they think they're special because they
Mhm.
can make notes on a guitar or make noise on a
Yeah.
drum or
Yeah.
scream into a microphone, which is not that hard.
Yeah.
To do it well and consistently takes
Mhm.
skill, determination, and just stubbornness, really.
Right. Right.
But there's a lot of people making music who shouldn't be, and
Mhm.
there are people who should be making music that aren't, and I think
Yeah.
it should be flipped around. And
Yeah.
that like that with a lot of art, people that
Yeah.
are really
Very much
gifted
so.
at it, just kind of like, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I'll paint the Mona Lisa again, or maybe I'll just paint my toenails. I don't fucking know. And then there's
Yeah.
people, who don't really have, they should be counting beans or working in a bank, but
Mhm.
they're playing house at being an artist. But
Yeah.
people like that don't last anyways. So it's just a matter of time.
No, yeah, they do tend to fall off that wagon and into something else that will occupy their time. Like stealing people's underwear or some new type of drug.
Or
Sniffing shark.
politics,
Oh yeah,
law enforcement.
let's try to gear correct them and gear them towards something that's less hazardous and much less impactful on the
Yep.
rest of it.
Yeah, back to the Benders thing. It was cool for a while until it became a pain in the ass. But
Yeah.
the reason why it's important is I met my wife there.
Oh, that's great.
So if for all of the headaches and insomnia and
Yeah.
and not doing shots for fun, but just to keep myself just to dull the pain of having to
Yeah.
be there 6 nights a week, sometimes 7 all the time. And just like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm tethered to this place. I
Right.
can't leave because, there were some problems with my partner and staffing. And it was so expensive to run. I couldn't have a manager there and I
Right.
could just go gallivanting around playing gigs or whatnot.
Mhm.
That was not in the business plan when the recession hit, and all of a sudden it was just really expensive to have a bar of 7,000 square feet
Yeah.
and 2 stages and a bunch of points of sale, and it's empty all the time because everyone's broke.
Right. Right. Oof.
Or maybe it was empty all the time because I was an asshole. That could have been part of it.
Well, when my group performed there, we loved working with you,
I
and
remember that.
I think
Hold on, fine mood.
yeah, Odom Famood, and
Okay.
good old OFM, and then I think it was through you that we met Jim, and were able to do some pretty weird stuff over at Oriental because he was co-owner of that for a little bit of time, and
Yeah.
so it was a lot of fun, meeting up with you guys, and also I think as far as like Denver punk goes, I think you were my introduction to that too. So that was pretty cool. Elise, my girlfriend, she was a little surprised that I was interviewing you today.
Oh, right on.
And that I knew you. She's like, I love King Rap. What the fuck? How did you know this guy? It's like, well, I've met Luke years ago, and we're all mutual friends of Jim, so it's everything collides in on itself as it
Yeah,
should.
I dig that, man. At one point in Denver, the punk rock scene was unbeatable because
Yeah,
there were so many good bands that not playing it because they had nothing else to do, but playing punk rock because they should be, because
yeah,
that's who they
nice.
were as people.
Yeah,
There was a bunch
that
of us,
ethos.
this kind of family of punk rock bands. And when
Mhm.
we'd all play together, man, it was really special because
Yeah,
the bar would be raised, everyone would become better because we're all pushing each other to see, how much of a cathartic performance we could put on for a punk rock audience, for people that were there specifically for the feeling that punk rock gives you, especially when you see it live.
yeah.
You rise up in the face of authority and adversity, and you shake your fist in defiance, and you point your finger with
Fuck yeah.
conviction, like that kind
Yep.
of fuck you, fuck everyone, I'm doing shit my way punk rock
Right.
attitude. I mean,
Right.
there was a time when there was a bunch of us that when we do shows together, like King Rat and Dr. Neptune, Pitch Invasion, Bold Type, Reno Divorce, Dead Ringer, Red Stinger, Cheetah Go Faster. I'm leaving people out, and if whoever I'm leaving out, sorry, but those bands, and then we would usually we would coalesce after hours at someone's practice space or at my house that I just moved out of, and
Yeah.
rave until, I don't know, 5 or 6 in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. So I'm glad that I was part of something really special at the right time.
Yeah.
There was a time, in a lot of the art scenes in Denver were kind of parallel with that,
Right. Right.
as far as like burlesque goes, and
Right.
rock and roll, punk rock, and all the genres of rock and roll, and kind of the modern country honky tonk iterations, whether it was kind of like the country revival stuff or the rockabilly psychobilly stuff, and the art scene as well, performance art and graphic art. There was just a time when everything was kind of rising at once, and especially this year, things are kind of just falling apart.
Right.
I say that with a chuckle because sometimes the only thing left to do is laugh because it's sad, but there's nothing you can really do about it,
Right. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about like film and visual arts too, is that can be the coping mechanism, that language that can help connect people during those difficult times.
Yeah.
And really quite quickly too. I mean, music is one of those platforms where the emotions can be instantaneous. It doesn't take long for you to connect with a rhythm or a tone or a feeling or some lyric that has a magnificent hook and be transportive.
Yeah, that's kind of where I start with music. I hear that lyrical hook, whether it's in my sleep or if I'm driving down the highway, like eating a sandwich and looking at the car in front of me, and something will hit me. I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to get that down now.
Yeah. Pull over. And
yeah. Sometimes I'll wake up with a melody or a hook, or sometimes a whole song in my head already that was in the dream I was having. If I get to the guitar fast enough before it fizzles out into the ether, then I can kind of wrestle it down and give it form. And then usually those are almost always keepers.
Yeah.
But I haven't, the songwriting this year has been pretty prolific. I've been just writing songs for people, just to write, just people like, all right, that dude could use a good one. So I'm going to write a song for that guy.
Oh, cool.
Record on my phone and send it out. And that's the end of that.
Nice.
I've been doing a little bit of that kind of philanthropic songwriting. And then
Have other artists and musicians that you've been sharing that with, have they been very engaging on that, or very appreciative?
Yeah, I was doing some stuff through Todd Daigle. He's King Rat alumni. He was the original bass player.
Cool.
So I kind of pitched him that idea, and we picked out a couple people that he knows that we both know, but he has a little bit more information on that he could give me enough meat to stick in between the two slices to make a good sandwich.
Nice.
That's an analogy for a song that's got enough meat in it, so to speak.
Yeah. A little bit of mustard.
Yeah. Oh, he really put the mustard on that one. Yeah.
Dijon?
Yeah. Dijon and Engelhofer.
Oh. Yeah. Nice.
So some of that, I just did the 48-hour film festival.
Oh, cool.
Weekend as the actor. I did in 2019. I did 9 films.
Holy shit!
As a bad guy.
Yeah, bald. Yeah. I used to. When I used to shave my head too, I was very aerodynamic.
Yeah. As soon as I think all the years of punk rock vanity in the mirror with Aquanet.
Yeah.
Pulling on it and Aquanetting it.
Yeah.
The hair follicles finally said, "Okay, fuck you. We're
dead.
We're dead. Bye. Hope you enjoyed your punk rock vanity, you prick."
like the dolphins in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they left the Earth.
Yes, absolutely. And the that 48-hour thing. Have you tried that 40-hour film festival?
No, that's always a project that I've always been kind of intimidated by, just because I like to make films. I think it's fun. I don't have a great knowledge of the process.
Yeah.
But I improvise and innovate. So doing it in like 48 hours, I'm like, wow, that's made for sturdier people than I am.
Well, yeah, we lucked out because these dudes, I did a film for them last year, and their preferred genre is horror.
Right.
So I did this film called The Neighbor.
Okay.
He's got he kidnaps kids and introduces them to their demise. I'll avoid the whole spoiler there.
Yeah.
So they asked me to be their actor guy for whatever they get, because you don't know what genre you're going to get.
Yeah.
You sign up for it, and you get you pick from musical, comedy, drama, western, sci-fi, horror. There's all the genres. Somehow, by the luck of the draw, they got horror.
Okay, good.
When we had a pre-production meeting, I was like, "You're not going to get horror, dude. There's no way, because that's your thing." And there's all these other categories, so don't even just give up. He's like, "Oh, I know. We'll work.
Have your plans in place.
We'll have the plans in place to do something."
Yeah.
And strangely enough, I think I out jinxed him on that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we banged it out. I brought my guitar. We decided the storyline. So I wrote the song about the character that I was going to play.
Cool.
On Friday night, because we got the genre at 6:00.
Yeah.
So by about 8:00, I had the song pretty much ready to go, and the story arc. And so then we started, put together a loose storyline. Everybody got some sleep. Then we shot all day the next day. And they edited all night and turned it in by 6:00 on Sunday. So they had to stay up and edit after shooting all day Saturday. I got to go home and go to sleep. I got to go home and get back into moving, which I should have been doing the whole time, instead of around making a movie when I'm moving in a week. I've got a house full of trash to get rid of. I'm like, I'll just make a film real quick. Yeah,
right.
I'll pile something else on here just in case I don't have enough shit to deal with.
Yeah, might as well, right?
Yeah.
You can do all that in between breaths. No big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, Luke. When it comes to like songwriting and writing a novel, do you
Thanks,
find that
Mom.
there's a lot of similarities in terms of like you got that hook with the with writing lyrics and stuff. Do you also like find yourself? It's like, oh my God, that's a great idea or premise, or what a wonderful paragraph
Yeah,
to bridge a problem area.
song is a one-page story.
Right.
It's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Well, at least for me. Some people write songs. Well, whether it's a circle or a line, for me, I see songs as stories.
Yeah.
Like short narratives. So there's definitely a correlation. The Belcher's a 236-page story, whereas most songs are just a one-page story. So
Yeah.
this is a song with a lot of verses, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a correlation. And that now that you mentioned that, three of the characters in there are songwriters in the Belcher.
Okay. Okay.
There's Pablo Vasquez is a songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
and Red Eye Robinson, he's one of the other characters. He's a songwriter, and
Nice.
a very crucial one at that. And then there's Jimmy Jiggs, who's a songwriter as well.
Okay.
Jimmy Jiggs is the guitar player for this band called Beelzebub Bunghole.
Awesome.
And Jimmy Briggs is based on the now deceased Johnny Briggs, who was the guitarist for Hell's Half Acre.
Okay.
They were a punk thrash band in the 90s in Denver.
Nice.
So yeah, there's definitely a correlation there. And since I've written hundreds of songs, I've figured write what you know about. That's what they always say. So these characters, there's iterations of what I've learned about songwriting woven into the fabric of their character.
Yeah.
And that's just part of what they do, and how they interact with each other is based through some of these songs. And instead of, I give backstory on them, but the lyrics, especially for Red Eye Robinson, the lyrics explain some layers of his personality that character building normally would. The song lyrics explain that. And in the audio book, which will be available on my site next week, in the audio book, I play the songs myself and sing them.
Oh, cool.
Mike from King Rat, he was my bandmate for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
He engineered and edited the audio book for me.
Oh, cool.
So I'm calling it the 11th King Rat studio album.
That's awesome.
Because it's me and Mike from the band.
Yeah.
And, I'm reading the characters. I'm doing some voice work just to differentiate between one character and the other. But there's, I play the songs that are in there to push the narrative along and sing them to the melody that I was hearing when I was writing them.
That's
so I
cool.
think that the audio book gives it that extra dimension of sound if you want to hear how these songs go. In the book, there's the lyrics of the song, and then the description of how it's affecting what's going on in the scene. But in the audio book, there's that extra thing, because I'll sing a verse, and then talk a block of narrative, and then sing another verse and talk a block of narrative explaining what's happening while the song is being played.
Wow.
No more spoilers.
Yeah, man, that sounds great. That sounds like what a wonderful treat to for the audio book version of this your novel. I think that's absolutely spectacular. I was interviewing a writer earlier this week, and he was talking about how during the writing process, music plays such an influential portion of his whole creative process. He's sitting there writing, and sometimes the narrative or the tone will change depending on what he's listening to. So if he's listening to like the Ramones, suddenly this horror story, has this connotation for this scene, and then it kind of differentiates. If he goes, suddenly I was listening to Tina Turner, and then all of a sudden, I wanted to write about a dancer, private dancer and stuff. And he would, when he would publish, his comics, he would always put up a link on Spotify that had, his playlist, so that people can read the book and listen along to the music. And so I think that's a brilliant way of what you're doing too, incorporating that into the audiobook.
Yeah, man. I mean, strangely, I paced around and kind of swat at invisible flies.
Yeah.
Trying to work out how a scene's going to go. And then I'll put it on the classical station or jazz or death metal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Something with a driving tone, and of course punk rock. That's always in there.
Yeah.
I think I've been overexposed to punk rock.
I'm
almost immune to it. But no, I don't think so, because it's one of my favorite things to do is to watch a punk rock band that at least it's apparent that they've practiced a little bit.
Right.
They're not doing it because they're playing house or they have nothing else to do. They're doing it because they have to, because that's who they are. When you see a band like that, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, most definitely. So Luke, we're just about ready to wrap up, but you said you had a number of stories that you want to get out. Do you have another book lined up?
Yep. Well, there's the sequel to the Belcher, and that's mapped out. I haven't started writing it. And then there's the book I was trying to write before I started the Belcher. I did some therapy. And so now I think I'm ready.
Okay.
So yeah, those are lined up, and
good.
I'm gonna start, with the Fractured Catholic.
Okay.
I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. Some bad things happened to me. It kind of fucked me up, and that explains a lot of that rough, abrasive exterior that I've been walking around. That chip on the shoulder,
right,
one on each shoulder. Yeah. Those deep chips. Those are placed there by ill-intentioned members of the clergy.
Oof.
Through years of therapy, I've worked through it to where I can take it from in here, put it over there.
Okay.
And get a 360-degree view of that.
That's good.
That pain and that anger and that hatred. And really examine it from an objective viewpoint, so that so I can control it, and it's not in here making me nuts.
Right.
So that's that was a big one. And when I first started deciding to write a novel, I wasn't ready to face any of that stuff. I thought I was gonna, and I started writing about it, and I was like, this is too hard. I can't do it. So but I got some help, and I went to SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests.
Okay.
And if the Denver chapter is still not meeting yet because of the COVID thing, but when this thing is behind us someday, they will resume. So if anybody's listening, look up Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, SNAP, because I first heard about them from a Christmas album that Bad Religion did.
Oh, okay.
They did a Christmas album, and all the benefits went to that organization.
Wow, that's great.
So I found them, and it was incredibly helpful. It was transformative, cathartic, and it helped me exponentially.
That's great.
So, also, I wanted to mention, if anybody out there is a graphic artist, if you want to take a look at the Belcher, get even the digital version on the Mutiny Information Cafe website, or take a look at the narrative. If you think you've got a graphic novel in you and you want to partner with me, let's do it.
Nice. Well, you're talking to the right audience, because I work with tons of comic book artists.
I know you do. I should have brought that up an hour ago, and I just.
That's all right. Well, we're just about ready to wrap up, but go ahead, stay on for a few minutes after this, and we can chat, and then, October 6th, right?
October 6th at lukeschmaltz.com. You can get the book. This guy here. I just moved, and so I have to.
And the cover art's by Jeff Kopp, right?
Yeah, Jeff Kopp is
fantastic artist. He's at is it Think Tank?
No, he was at Think Tank. Now he's at Little Black Church.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff Kopp and I are disgustingly close. We're very, very, very close friends. If there was
good
the tiniest bit of gay in either of us, we would have gone that way a long time ago. But
nice.
We're straight.
Yeah, nothing more manly than two guys like you.
Yeah, man. So he did that, and these will be ready. They're ready at Mutiny now.
Right.
They're right. You just go buy one retail or just get one from me on lukeschmaltz.com, and you can get the audiobook there by the 6th. So I think that's Tuesday.
That would be Tuesday. Today's the 3rd.
Yeah, so if we're working on normal Schmaltz time, that means probably the 7th. But
right.
I'm shooting for the 5th, which means the 6th or the 7th.
Right.
Well, I'll have my shit together eventually, but I have to get my computer set up. I'm at my mom's place now. My place is a few blocks from here.
Okay.
But I don't have my internet is set up. My computer is in a bunch of different boxes.
Yeah.
I think I broke a few things throwing boxes around.
Oh no.
Moving is frustrating, and the best way to get that frustration out is to pick up something and throw it. So
true.
I did a lot. I threw a lot of stuff.
Just make sure to label your boxes, computer stuff. Don't throw this, throw that.
I don't have that kind of organization, man. I started off organized, and at the end, everything's just in bags. Just of all these boxes that do have, some of them are labeled, most of them aren't.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great. Luke, it's been absolutely wonderful being able to chat with you and connect with you online and learn a little bit more of, all the creative, cool shit that you do. Say hi to your mom for us. Oh man.
Hi, Mom. Mom's been keeping me supplied with coffee during this thing.
Excellent. That's what we all need, right? Cheers. I'm Dan Crosier for Cafe Crash, here with Luke Schmaltz from King Rat and writer of the Belcher, soon to be a graphic novel and a follow-up novel to that. We can't wait. Make sure you go to Mutiny Information Cafe on South Broadway, Ellsworth and South Broadway. Pick up your copy in person or wait to get it from Luke online. And of course, somebody has to call me right now. Fuck them. Thanks,
Dan.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Adios, amigos.